Hello again, everyone. Welcome to another one of my videos. This series or this video is going to be about my personal experiences with the Arcturians. My experiences with the Arcturians focuses mainly around only two, and one of them is the dominant individual that shows themselves to me. But before I get into that, I will just say that I have never had any kind of, prior to this, I had never had any kind of interactions with any kind of ET or anything like that. The only time I had ever had any kind of, I guess, interaction, you could call it, with an ET was when I was meditating and I had just started learning about everything, more about the truth of things as I researched things. And I had a image flash in my mind once of, as I can describe it, it was a, I guess, an ET appearing face with grayish skin and black eyes. And it was like 3/4 shot, like, of his face, his or her face, I don't know. And the way they were looking at me was like just this like really angry look on their face, and I was just like, in it was a quick flash, and that's all I saw. But whatever it was, that individual was just looked at me like with like, I don't know, disgust, anger. And that was the only kind of experience that I had ever had outside of that in the beginning. And I didn't focus on it. I just chalked it up to, okay, I meditated and I saw that very angry person and moving on. So I had just moved. I just finished that across the state move for my new job. I had just settled down. Everything, was looking good. I had arranged my house, and I started becoming interested in moldavite and its properties, how it's created, and things of that nature. Moldavite is a very deep green, olive green color, typically. And it is created, I believe, if this is correct, it is created with the impact of a meteorite or an asteroid into the earth, and that debris gets thrown up into space. And it's so hot at that time that it begins to form pieces of glass in outer space around that impact. And those small, tiny shards then fall back into the earth and are awaiting our discovery. So, from what I understand, that's kind of how they are created. They're interstellar, which means they're created in space. So, it's kind of neat, actually. And I discovered also that moldavite is a very powerful natural, I'm going to call it a crystal, but I don't know. It's more of a natural type of glass. But for this sake, we're going to just call it a crystal here. So it is a very powerful crystal. It was probably the first crystal I had ever encountered that created a feeling of dizziness in me. I had never had that type of reaction to any type of crystal before. But I had just moved here. And I had asked my mother, Goddess Aset, I said, I would like some Moldavite. Am I ready for Moldavite? And, I meditated on it. And she said, yes, you can buy a small piece of Moldavite. I said, okay. I hadn't realized then that she was probably telling me to buy a smaller piece because they can be expensive. Real Moldavite can be very expensive. So she was probably just protecting me. And I had no idea who would carry it, but there were several different shops around where I lived that had metaphysical items in their inventory. So I spoke with her about which store would have Moldavite, excuse me. And so she told me a certain one, and she said, you can go there. And it was more in the city, but it was okay. So I found the store, I drove there, and I started scanning, and I looked and I saw their small collection of small Moldavite crystals, which was perfect because that's what she wanted me to get, was a small piece. So I entered the store and I said, may I look at your Moldavite? And the lady there said, yeah, sure. So she took them out, and immediately when she placed them on the glass table, the display table, she put them out and she said, these are the pieces, and choose which one you would like. I felt dizzy as soon as I approached them. And I had never felt that way before about a crystal, but I had read that can be a reaction some people can have who are sensitive to these things. And I knew then that her collection was legitimately Moldavite, that it was not a fake. And there are a lot of fakes on the market being sold, so please be aware of that before you purchase Moldavite, especially online. There's many different articles online you can read to help you learn how to discern between fake and real Moldavite. And I encourage you, if you are looking into Moldavite, to please look at that first, okay? So I purchased the small piece. It was about $35, and I might show a picture of it to you. And it was about $35, small piece, but so strong. And I took it home, and I blessed it. Of course, I always cleanse all of my crystals that I bring home. I cleanse, because you never know what kind of energy has been around or has touched them at all. So it's important to cleanse your crystals as well when you bring them home. And I did so. So I asked my mother, Goddess Aset, I said, should I put it under my pillow and sleep with it the way I do my amethyst? And she said, no. Don't do that quite yet, but you may wear it or keep it on you. I said, okay. So I created a little necklace for it that had a tiny charm, which was a little capsule charm. So I could put it in there and then close it and then wear it as a necklace. It was very unique looking. So there it was. I had my first piece of Moldavite. And as I got accustomed to it, it didn't make me as dizzy anymore. I wore it comfortably, and I didn't have to worry about feeling dizzy. So it had been that way with me for a couple of weeks, I want to say. And then one night, I had a dream. This dream felt so real that I didn't know I was dreaming at all. And in the dream, I was sitting on a metal floor. And this metal floor was very clean. It had a soft bluish silvery steel look to it, and it was very shiny. And as I sat, I saw a blanket in front of me, and there was movement inside of the blanket. And for whatever reason, I felt very drawn to this little blanket. So I opened the blanket, and there were two little animals in there, and I have no idea what kind of animal they were. But if you can picture this, imagine a baby hippo, but its skin was like a very pale white color, and it had fur everywhere but its face, and the fur was colored like a white and dark tan spaniel with floppy ears like a spaniel, but the face was like a hippo. And and it was very small. So it was like a hippo face and bodied, but covered in fur of like white and dark brown blotches of fur with floppy ears that were also covered in fur. And there were two of them. And something told me that they were babies. So they were like puppies, I guess, or babies. I don't know. But I'd never seen an animal like that before. And I knew they were babies. And there was something on their blanket that I had to get rid of because it had some kind of I don't know what it was. It looked like there were bugs in it, like this little ball, and it had bugs in it. I was like, oh, let's get that. We need to get that off. So I plucked it off of the blanket, and just casually and instinctively, I reached over to what was on the ground or the floor, and it was a circle. But inside of this circle were these lines, these seams that kind of went like this, like a spiral. And it opened up, and I dropped it into it, and then it closed. And I was like, okay, I got rid of it. And I left them in their little blanket to huddle together, and they were fine. And then I stood up. And I was wearing a white linen type clothing. And I started walking down this hallway, and the light got dimmer, and the doors opened in front of me, and I entered a very big room. It was huge. It was a very big room. I couldn't tell exactly what shape it was. I think it was circular. And everything was dark in the room. I couldn't see, except for these little blinking lights. And it reached till about, like, maybe here's the floor, and then the dark parts that I couldn't see were here in the shadows with the little blinking lights. And then at this point right here, it became what I'm guessing was glass or something, because I could see space all around me at that point, like complete 360 of space. I saw nebulas and stars, and they were gorgeous. The colors were a deep orangey red hue, and just glowing from the stars being nursed inside of different areas, and just big and beautiful glowing gold amber colors. And I just stood there, and I looked around, and I was just like, this is so beautiful. It's so beautiful. And as I looked forward, I saw a star, a singular star that seemed brighter. And it was a whitish color, and it seemed to be in the distance, as if we were moving through these these things and just heading toward that star. And something overtook me, and I felt sad all of a sudden. I was kind of like disappointed. And I said to myself, oh, we're going home. Oh, like I was sad. And then the doors opened behind me. And as I looked, there was a blue-skinned, I guess, person. And his head wasn't huge. It was a little bit longer, maybe. A little bit longer or larger, but not huge. And I say he is because as soon as he entered the room, I got this impression like this is a he. And he entered, and he had this beautiful magenta colored cloak, I guess, that had some crystals right here, but it went up his neck and kind of curled out this way with a gold hem. And his eyes were larger. They were larger. Not huge, but they were larger. Very, very lovely, though, because when I looked at them, it was like looking at stars. It was this deep, dark blue color, but it was like you could see stars. I don't know. It was the most beautiful, like truly beautiful eyes. He had a nose, but it was very small, a very small nose, very petite. And he had lips as well. But again, they were more petite. The structure of his face was a petite structure as well. Not exaggerated, really exaggerated in any of his features per se, except for maybe his eyes. And I saw him enter, and I watched him. And he approached me, and in the dream, at this time, he showed himself to me being about that tall. The top of his head was about to my chest. And he came to the front of me, and he just put his arms around me, and he held me very close. And when I tell you, I cannot describe the feeling of just love that I felt from him. It penetrated my whole body, and it was amazing. It was beautiful. Such a feeling. I was literally melting, melting in his arms. Just that feeling of just so much love. And so true, so penetrating. It was just, it filled all of me. Anyway, I had that dream and I woke up. And I think I'll end it there because this video is already a little longer than it should be. So I'll end it there, and I'll see you again in part 2. And thank you for joining me. Blessings to you. Be safe and take care of yourself and each other. And goodbye for now.